Good evening. Sorry to interrupt the conversations. One of my many unhappy duties is to interrupt people's fun conversations and offer remarks. So I apologize for that, and I'll make them brief. I'm Eduardo Peñalver. I'm the president of Seattle University. Just once again want to thank all of our speakers who traveled from very faraway places, from India, from Washington, D.C., from the Bay Area. We're pleased to have you with us this evening. Thank you for sharing your insights and wisdom. Some of our speakers are based in the greater Seattle area, and certainly our audience as well comes from the greater Seattle area. But given Seattle traffic, sometimes you might feel like you were coming from India to get here, and so we're grateful to you as well for braving that. You know, I feel like after COVID, traffic has taken on new meaning. I sort of am thankful for traffic when I drive around Seattle. But thank you all for being with us on our campus today. I just want to thank a few people. I thanked some of you this morning, but I'll do it again because we have people here who weren't here in the morning. But I want to thank Dean Amit Shukla and Professor Meenakshi Rishi. I don't know where they're sitting, but other members of the conference steering committee, the university events team, people who worked very hard over the past 8 months on the programming and planning and execution of today's event. Once again, want to thank our sponsors, the RoundGlass Foundation especially, and we'll hear more from them. Greater Seattle Partners, who's been a really an exceptional collaborator in conceiving and putting this event together. K&L Gates, the Seattle Times, the Metropolitan Chamber of Commerce, the Indian American Community Services, South Asian Bar Association, Pallavi and Ashish Wahi, and Mala and Suri Raman, who all supported this event from its inception. I'd also like to thank the many senior Seattle University faculty, administrators, student staff who have joined us this evening, as well as friends and family of the university. I want to extend a special welcome to members of the Ramallah family who are with us, whose generosity has supported a scholarship recipient from India who we'll hear from later this evening. It's been a full day. I found each of the panels to be engaging and informative and inspiring, and I hope you have as well. Before you enjoy the salad at the table and the amazing Indian food from the buffet, and I promise you that it is amazing, I'd like to ask you to join me for a moment of gratitude and blessing. We receive this food with gratitude to the original people of this land, the Coast Salish, who continue to steward these lands and waters as they have since time immemorial. To all the people who have helped to bring this food to our table, those who grew the food, those who harvested it, and those who prepared it. Nourished by this food and fellowship, let us respond in turn to those we see in need around us with wisdom and compassion. In the spirit of today's gathering, let us work to build bridges where divisions of distance, ideology, religion, and injustice separate us from one another. And we ask all of this in your many names. Amen. We do have a brief program this evening, and so I'll now turn the podium over to Professor Sital Kalandry of Seattle University Law School. She's the Associate Dean of the Law School for International Programs. I think I have that title correct. The founding director of the RoundGlass India Center at Seattle University, and she'll serve as your host for the remainder of this event. And at this point, you can please enjoy your salads. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And also just to add, welcome to our family that is here, people from Houston, Rupal, Ashish, people from India, Sarang Lakhani, and people from faraway Puyallup. So we have Meg and Ovidio, who are the presidential parents here with us, as well as our godson. So thank you for being here. So this dinner caps a day of enriching dialogue and celebrates the launch of a new center that will be the venue to carry forward high-level conversations about India and the Indian diaspora in the Pacific Northwest. Globally, as we heard today, we all know why India has become an extremely important country. But locally, it's important as well to us. Settlers from India date back to the 1900s. At that time, we were shunned, but now we are welcome and are contributing significantly to this economy. But as immigrant communities, the longer we live here in the United States, we are increasingly distant from conversations, political conversations, culture, and connections with India. The India Center hopes to serve as a bridge to bring impactful speakers and other events to forge business and scholarly connections with India. I think we, as an educational institution, have a special role to play in that. We are able to convene these conversations in a way others can't. And for those of you who aren't, please do enjoy your salads as I'm speaking. Seattle University's ties are deep to India. The center builds on the rich engagement SU has had for almost a decade that many people in this room have been forging. Now we have exchange programs with institutions all over the world. Right. In fact, as a Jesuit institution, it makes a lot of sense for us to collaborate with India. There are more Jesuit institutions in India than there are in any other country in the world. There are about 75 in India universities, whereas US there's only 30. So India and the United States also are increasingly close. Rather than encouraging this relationship, some people have argued that we should distance ourselves from India because of its human rights record. So in an op-ed in the Seattle Times yesterday, I've argued that the best way to address human rights concerns is to engage India as a peer rather than to preach to it. Moreover, while India can certainly learn from the United States, there are things we can teach that India can teach us. Much of my work is comparative work where I'm bringing democracy and ideas from India's constitutional democracy to the United States. So the center hopes to carry this and many other conversations forward. I'm so excited about the RoundGlass Center, which was made possible by the vision of RoundGlass and Singh. Shortly after I moved from New York to Seattle 2 years ago, as Sunny mentioned, I met him, and we talked about this, and he appreciated and recognized that we needed a place to engage in dialogue to build bridges with India. And through his guidance and Prakriti Podar's guidance, we decided to start a center with 3 key areas of focus at the inception, right? First, to bring these high-level conversations, bring the community together with knowledge, academic discourse, and interdisciplinary perspectives. And second, to leverage our capacity in the law school to promote access to justice to villages in Punjab. We'll start by a methodologically sound legal needs assessment survey in Punjab with the hope of improving rule of law and spreading this across India. The third area is scholarships for financially needy students who are academically gifted, who wouldn't have the opportunity to otherwise study here. And we'll talk more about that after dinner. But for now, I'm just going to invite Sunny up here. We'll have a brief conversation. Then we'll have you go to dinner and hear from our scholarship recipient sponsored by the first Ramallah Fellow. So Sunny Singh is a serial entrepreneur. He began his entrepreneurial journey with the goal to make healthcare delivery better for patients, caregivers, and professionals. Founding Edifecs in 1996, which now is a multinational company and a market leader in global healthcare. But since that, he shifted to what his real passion is, I think, which is social entrepreneurship. He founded the RoundGlass Foundation, which is working to improve the lives of people in Punjab, the community that shaped him. Through on-the-ground initiatives such as sports, learning, and other women's empowerment, he's already the foundation, many of whom are here. It's a lot of people, and all of you have worked hard to impact more than 1.6 million lives across 1,700 villages. And we also heard about the wellness and well-being that that Sunny and Prakriti are promoting, which I certainly find really meaningful to me in my life. So, Sunny, will you please come up to have a conversation with me about why you do what you do? So welcome, Sunny. Is there some remarks or that you'd like to make just as an introduction?
No, I don't envy anybody coming after me. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Here, take this one. Take this one. That's one.
Maybe if I bang it,
Okay. Well, here.
Okay, it works?
Yeah.
This was deliberate. There was an act that we wanted to perform. You know, it's, I just feel badly for the people speaking after me between dinner and the dinner, as Eduardo said, is supposed to be fabulous. But first of all, thank you for being here. Everybody has very busy lives, and for you to spend the evening with us and the day with us, I think is fabulous. I can talk about a lot. Sital is in a particular area you want me to cover. But before I actually, let me just make a couple of comments. I always wanted to build bridges between US and India. And before I started my first company, I was toying with the idea of being an entrepreneur because I'm a corporate misfit. And to use that to my advantage, I said, okay, let me take companies like Packard and Starbucks to India way back in 1995, 96. So, and a good friend of mine, Sunil, is sitting over here, where he and I went to a conference, started talking to Starbucks and saying, can we take you to India? That's how bold we were. So, full circle around, we are here now building bridges between Washington and India after maybe 30 years.
Thank you, Sunny. So you do all of this philanthropy work, both financially and also your time. What makes you the most proud and happy about the work that you're doing with RoundGlass or anything else?
So I think I'll change the perspective a little bit. So we started RoundGlass a few years ago, and RoundGlass Foundation is the giving part of RoundGlass. And RoundGlass as a company, including foundation, is focused on what we call holistic well-being. How do you enable holistic well-being for people, for societies, for humanity? And we want to democratize holistic well-being for the world. Everything we do in the foundation has fundamental tenets and a twist to making well-being or holistic well-being happen for certain constituents. I'll talk about that in just a few minutes as to what all the initiatives are. But as regarding being, for me, you have to get up in the morning and there should be a reason why you get up in the morning. And for me, it's not a matter of I'm proud about it or whatever. I just feel good when I'm doing what I'm doing right now. And my first company, Edifecs, I tell everybody, was a pursuit of passion. I was passionate about being an entrepreneur. We fell into healthcare by mistake. A few years into the company, healthcare treated us well. We did a lot of good things for healthcare in the US. But RoundGlass is basically my calling. And I think everything I've done in life is basically setting me up to do what I'm doing now. And this is my life. This is my cause. RoundGlass is not a company. It's actually an expression and extension of who I am as an individual. And I'm hoping that and by the way, I believe what we're doing in RoundGlass, which is holistic well-being for the world, is the most relevant thing of our times. COVID proved to us that the emperor has no clothes. People are, jumping off the walls in terms of how post-COVID life is looking like. Mental health we talked about. So there are a lot of things that are affecting our day-to-day living. And that's where RoundGlass fits in, whether we do RoundGlass or RoundGlass Foundation. So it's not a matter of being proud of it. It's just that this is who I am, and I love what I'm doing every day of the week.
Thank you. So as somebody who has spent a lot of time and energy working on Punjab and giving back to India, what motivates you to do that?
My father asked me questions saying, hey, where are these ideas coming from and why do you do all of these things? I said, I have no idea. I think I'm possessed. And these things just come to me. I have no idea. I went to India between 2014 and 2019 for 5 years and due to personal reasons. And that's when the foundation genesis of RoundGlass was taking place. I was in Mohali, in Chandigarh, in the center of, capital of Punjab. And I started seeing things in Punjab that disturbed me. The youth was disenfranchised. There were, farmers were not doing very well. There was no investment coming in. There was a drug problem. There was a lot of problems. And my whole mind went to, okay, I'm seeing some problems. And being an entrepreneur, how do I solve them? And we had some false starts. We had many false starts. We had pushback from the bureaucracy. They said, hey, Sunny, what's Sunny's agenda? He wants to come here and do all of these things for what? There must be some agenda behind what he's doing. And so it took us a couple of years to find our bearings. But after we did all the trials and whatnot, things just took off. And I tell people that ideas come, we implement it. I think what we are blessed with is a couple hundred really, really, really good people on the ground who are doing phenomenal work. And I'll give you one small example that'll tell you what this team is made of. During the first wave of COVID, we didn't know what this monster was. Well, we were scared. And I was on a call with my team and saying, hey, what do we do? Offices are shut down, there's no movement. I say, how are people in our villages thriving, the elderly and the daily wage workers, etc.? And he says, Sunny, we can do something. We can create packages, we can get the packages to them, we can help them. I said, you will do that? Yeah, he says, we can do that, we'll get the challans for transport. I said, what do you need? They gave me a number, say, we need this much funds. So for me, it was as easy as writing a check. But imagine the first wave of COVID, office workers, other people from our company, all the foundation guys coming together. At that time, we had 400 villages. They came to the office every day, did the social distancing, made the packages, they had lentils and oil and soaps and rice, etc., all of this stuff. And they delivered the packages to 400 villages, and they had complete demographic information, who were the daily wage workers and who were the elderly. So we served 50,000 people, about 10,000 families for 2 months. And I said, if this team is so willing to do what they're doing, when we are scared to get out of our homes, then I go to bet on them. And that kind of defined the whole kind of the North Star, the value system, and the whole culture of the foundation.
Thank you. Great. Thank you so much. So many people in this room, including you, have come here often in the tech industry, other industries, right, have benefited from the extreme wealth that people have gained from Seattle, right, from the burgeoning industry. How do you feel that we have a responsibility as well to support our area, this area that we locally live in?
It's one of the speakers today said it's very difficult to write a check, to part with your money, no matter how little it is or how big it is. It is difficult. We have talked to a lot of people and very well-intended people, and sometimes they have a hesitance to write the first check. Maybe they do not know about us, don't know enough about us, whatever the reasons might be. But I believe in people. I believe in humanity. I believe in the good side of humanity. I believe people are just naturally good, and the 2% should not define the 98%, or even less than 2%. And so even though I'm doing what I feel I need to do as an individual with a great group of people that work together in the foundation, and I'll talk about a couple of things we're doing in India, I don't think it's okay for us to go and saying, hey, can you contribute? And the contribution can be in terms of time, your network, your expertise, writing a check, help others with fundraising and have them write a check. But we should not, just because somebody doesn't write a check doesn't mean we should say, why are you not writing a check, right? Earlier today I said, the 10%, if you have 90% of the pie, 10% doesn't seem a lot if you own 90% of the pie. So if you give 10% of your time, over time you give 10% of your financial resources, it will only actually, the giver benefits more than the recipient. I believe that I benefit more by giving than the recipients are. I have a fundamental belief, and we are doing a lot. So I think everybody should start with the 10% rule. I think so. And over time, and that might be from a time commitment, and then you go deeper in. But should people give back? Yes. But you also have to look at beyond yourself. When you give back, you're being a role model, and you're setting an example for who? Your children, your friends, your relatives, and society in general. I can assure you, just because we came together with the RoundGlass India Center, there will be many others in Seattle who will be standing up and saying, why didn't we think of it? I want to help. I want to get involved. And they might get involved in the India Center, or they might do something else. But the fact is that every time somebody does something, many other people will get inspired by it. And if nothing else, the beneficiary of whatever, when you give back, will be your children. So do it for your children.
Thank you. Well, I think you're inspiring to many people by what you're doing, by what you're saying, that it's, it's not for the joy you feel, but just the act of giving. How do you encourage other people in the community here to do that, right? So I'm fairly new here, and what I've heard is that there isn't enough philanthropy given the stage at which the community has arrived. And one, do you agree? And two, how would we change that?
Yeah, so two things. Yeah, I've heard the joy conversation earlier also. It's okay, you get joy out of giving. It's great. It's selfish, honestly. Yes, you get satisfied, it gives you joy, it gives you a certain emotional satisfaction or a high, and that's fine. But that cannot be a reason why you do what you do in giving back to society. You do it because that wakes you up in the morning and saying, why will I not do it? It's not, why should I do it and I get happiness out of it? Yes, it's all good. Trust me, all giving is happiness. You know, when you help somebody, trust me, it'll make you happy. That's a least common denominator. Now, can the India diaspora, can the folks in Washington give more? Absolutely, yes. But we have one of the largest givers in the Gates Foundation over here, giving massively in massive projects. Can the India diaspora give more? Absolutely, yes. Should we step up and give more? Absolutely, yes. But it's just not about writing a check, like I said. You can give, you can give your time, your expertise, your contacts, get involved in some way, shape, or form, volunteer. And what you realize is that as you do these things, something will resonate with you, and you will feel compelled to write a check. You will just feel compelled. So I have to do it. So you don't have to start by saying, I have to write a check. Start saying, how do I get involved?
Thank you.
So yeah, can you give more?
Well, I'm glad you felt compelled to write a check.
Can you give more? Yes, you should be giving more.
Thank you. Thank you. So one final question before we have people enjoy the dinner, and this will flow into our post-dinner conversation. I know in speaking to you, you've mentioned that the only reason you came to the United States was because you had a scholarship. And without that, obviously, or possibly this wouldn't have happened. So can you talk about a little bit more about that and your educational journey?
Yeah, I'll answer that, and I'll add one more thing to it because I think it's important to get the perspective of RoundGlass Foundation. So I came here on a scholarship, and the reason I came here because an astrologer told me I was going to leave India and go somewhere else to live my life and study, et cetera, because I was not intending coming to the US. And so because the astrologer told me so, I said, okay, let's start applying. My plane ticket was a loan from a bank. The only reason I could get the loan was because the loan officer, his daughter, and my sister were best of friends. So he said he's good for that money. I came on a full scholarship. I came into Montana in March in a T-shirt. So I didn't even look Montana on a map. I ended up in the US. So that was my entry into the US. So the scholarship helped me a lot. As a matter of fact, in the scholarship, I was sending money back home because my parents had put all their savings into the kids' education. And so I would work all kinds of jobs on campus. There's a job on campus that existed I didn't do. Like I did everything from, picking, garbage to banquets and to desk clerk to night desk clerk to cleaning up the stadiums, the rodeo and whatnot, all kinds of work. And my professor, my advisor was so pissed off at me saying, Sunny, it's like, when do you study? I came from a competitive school, so grades were easy. But what I'm saying is that scholarship enabled me to come here. I had a very strong work ethic. I used that to generate more money so that I could send money home to my parents. That was my story. And to top it all, I started my first company on my credit cards because I had no idea VCs existed. I'll add one more thing before we end. When we talk about the RoundGlass Foundation, there are two things that always were in my mind. One is, if you look at what we're doing in India, we're doing a lot of stuff in Punjab, yes, but we're also doing a couple of really other interesting initiatives that doesn't come under Punjab. One is we have a sustained initiative where we're chronicling the biodiversity of India. India is one of the most biodiverse countries in the world. And so we are chronicling, think of Nat Geo with a purpose. And so much so that within 3 to 4 short years, we have won the best documentary coming out of India as the only entry at the Jackson Hole United Nations Award. We've won the best global entry of wildlife from India and for the world, by the way. So they did very well. And on sports, I'll leave it with this. We have some sports academy where we have a football academy, which we call soccer over here, a hockey academy, a tennis academy. Our intent with sports in football, what we call soccer over here, is to get India to the World Cup by 34 or 38. And I'll leave with one last thought. Because I have 2 homes, India and the US, the country has been very, very good to me. And so it is imperative for each one of us to also give back here. the whole idea of, one of the ideas supporting RoundGlass India Center was also how not only we can build a bridge that benefits the state of Washington, but we'll do things within the state of Washington to help issues over here through the India diaspora. So we can show people that we care for both countries. It's just not a bridge. We care for both countries.
Thank you so much, Sunny. You are very inspiring, and I know that many of the students sitting here and hearing your journey are inspired. Many of them have already told me that in the prior conversations they feel hope, and they feel that they too can achieve many of the great things that you and many of our speakers have achieved. So thank you so much. All right, sorry to break up the great conversations. I have a very short and sweet last program left for you. So our next and final speaker is the recipient of a scholarship funded by the Ramallah Family Foundation. Rao Ramallah and Satya Ramallah are the first real supporters of our initiative. Even before it was a center, they believed in us, and they are the part of the first pioneers, the tech pioneers to the Indian, to Seattle. Rao Ramallah was the first Indian origin employee at Microsoft, and he has supported Ashok Kumar, who is here. And we're so grateful to what the family does. They support initiatives across India, across the United States, focusing on the United States. Please look at them up at the Ramallah Family Foundation.org. I just wanted to also just recognize them. They are here. Can you please stand? And we would love to get a big round of applause to you for supporting us. And thank you so much. And you'll hear more from Ashok Kumar, and you'll hear about his journey from a small village in Rajasthan to Seattle and Seattle University. Ashok.
Thank you so much, everyone. Namaskar. Like my journey from a remote village with limited internet connectivity to Seattle, the global hub of innovation, has been a blend of formidable challenges and remarkable opportunities along the way. Each step paved with cultural shock and exposure to new ways of life along the way. I come from a very humble background. My father is a farmer and he runs a small ration shop in India, and my stepmother is a devoted homemaker. Like everyone else in my community, I completed my elementary school from a Hindi medium school in my village. The turning point in my life happened at the age of 9 when I had to leave my family to pursue my secondary and higher secondary education. I was fortunate enough to pass the entrance test for Jawahar Navodaya Vidyalaya to pursue my secondary and higher secondary education. Navodaya Vidyalaya is a system of fully residential school run by the government of India for the students predominantly from the rural areas in India. These schools are meant for the students who lack access to quality education due to financial, social, and geographical disadvantages. The entrance exams are highly competitive. Like for every 8,000 students that sit for the exam, only 80 are selected. The next turning point of my life came when I learned about law as a career through IDIA, which stands for Increasing Diversity by Increasing Access. IDIA works in India to empower students from underprivileged and marginalized background, and they provide support to pursue their legal education. They provide mentorship, financial, and all the support throughout their journey in law school. Coming from a family whose monthly income was barely enough to cover only the application fees for the common law admission test in India, I could never have imagined studying law at any institution in India. Thankfully, with my hard work and IDIA's support, I was admitted to one of the premier law schools in India, that's Nirma University in Ahmedabad. During law school, I realized that the essence of legal education extends beyond mere understanding of the law. It encompasses the imperative of diversity, inclusivity, and accessibility. I was exposed to different facets of various government policies and regulations that often fail to recognize the practical problems that are faced by the marginalized communities in India. One example I have personally witnessed is the plight of marginalized farmers who visit my father's ration shop to get their daily ration. Around 2016, the government of India adopted Aadhaar, a biometric identity system that cross-references citizens' 12-digit identity number with fingerprints and iris scan. Getting your rations requires identity verification by way of fingerprints. but due to hard labor, these farmers were having faded fingerprints, which were frequently not detected. Moreover, a lack of internet connectivity means that those who grow and harvest food for us had to travel long distance to get their daily ration. Seeing this struggle, I started to question the exclusion of marginalized and underprivileged in the name of modernity and technology. I wish to bridge these gaps through the expertise that I'll develop in my LLM in technology, innovation, and entrepreneurship at Seattle University School of Law. Here, I can focus on my efforts in these emerging field of law to increase access to those that need it the most. Beyond my acceptance at Seattle University, I also have the honor of being selected as the Ramallah Family Scholarship, the reason why I'm standing here. This honor enhances my personal and academic growth, and it stands as a source of pride for my entire community and district back in India. They say it takes a village to raise a child. Well, maybe it takes a village to go to law school too. When people from my community heard that I could use their support to live in Seattle, they pitched in, they held fundraiser to support my accommodation and living expenses here in Seattle. Students are looking towards me with a realization that with hard work and perseverance, a son of farmer from a remote village in India can also make it to the esteemed institutions in the United States. When I graduate, I intend to work towards cultivating an equitable technological regulatory framework, particularly to the benefit of marginalized. I will support knowledge sharing and access to essential services for underprivileged communities such as my family. More than anything, I want to empower countless Ashoks like me and enable them to pursue their higher education without constraints. I'm beyond grateful to Seattle University and the Ramallah Family Foundation for bestowing upon me this transformative opportunity and make me believe that no dream is too big. This opportunity has not only altered the trajectory of my life, but also of those in my family and generations to come. I'm a big fan of Hindi shairis, so I wish to conclude by reciting a few lines in Hindi to extend my gratitude to everyone who has supported me throughout the journey. It says, वो लोग जो अज्ञानता का मुंह काला करते हैं, वो लोग जो अज्ञानता का मुंह काला करते हैं, अनपढ़ को पढ़ा के आला करते हैं, आभारी रहेगी उम्र ता उम्र उन गुरुओं की, वो लोग जो जिंदगी में उजाला करते हैं, which essentially translates in English to say that I shall forever be grateful to the people, to the organizations, to the guide, to the mentors who have supported me and enlightened my life, providing me to the access to the education that I'm getting today. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening, everyone. Thank you.
So wonderfully delivered. So proud of you, Ashok. So proud of you making this journey here and what you're doing. We are all inspired by you. And to stand up and give this talk is really amazing that you did. So this is just testament to what scholarships can do. Many of you in the room already know that. Many of you in the room were beneficiaries. Sunny talked about his own journey. I am, and I think as Ashok says, scholarships uplift not just him, but his community, but generations to come of his progeny. I'm a second generation recipient of a beneficiary of this, speaking kind of what happens to your kids. My father grew up essentially in a slum in India. His parents were squatters, he says. He says he wore the same shirt for years until it ripped, and then maybe he could get a new one or a used new one. He studied by candlelight in, the street lights. So he says the only way really he got himself, even in India, in education is through higher education is through a Marwadi family that gave him a scholarship, which is where the community I'm from. So really without that, I also probably wouldn't be here today. So this is why I personally believe that we should use our success. One way to use our success is to support others through education. It's a gift that uplifts entire communities. So in particular, I think donating to Seattle University for a scholarship for a financially needy and qualified student like Ashok is a win, 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 win. First, it's a win for the student who improves his life and her life and gives hope to members of his community, as Ashok has just shown you. It's a win for Seattle because by supporting Seattle University, we're supporting our region. It's a win for businesses in Seattle who might convince people like Ashok to stay here and work here. And fourth, it's a win for the donor who can support and interact with the student once he or she comes here. The student feels the support of the donor feels that it's another bridge. It's another bridge that they've created to modern India. So while this is not a fundraising event, but if you are so interested in supporting students like Ashok, you are welcome to do that. In the back of your dinner menu, there's a QR code. We welcome your support. There's no administrative cost to any of these funds. All the funds will go straight to scholarships to bring people like Ashok. We're partnering, so it's very hard to actually find amazing people like him, but we partnered with IDEA, the organization he talked about, and we're going to be partnering with an organization like IDEA who works in the STEM field to bring people from the most marginalized communities up all the way to higher education and to Seattle University. So with that, I thank you, and I encourage you to participate in center activities, to center giving yourselves, give your time, your energy. I wanted to thank all of our speakers, our staff, our faculty, our family for spending all of this time to be here with us, and I'm so grateful to all of you for your support, and look forward to so many more of these events to come, and so many more Ashoks to come along the way. Thank you very much. Enjoy some coffee and tea outside if you'd like, and stay and chat as long as you want. Thank you.